Hello and welcome back. It is Selection Sunday, and what a great time to be doing a stream at 6 p.m. And we are here to bring you all the coverage, all of our thoughts on the teams that will make it, some of the ones that won't make it. I'm listening to myself there a little bit. And Connor and I have done a lot of preparation for this. We have a lot of notes, and we have very little time to get through everything that we want to say. Isn't that right, Connor?
You were right on with that.
But it should be fun. As always, March Madness, and it's crazy. And I bet Connor and I will probably get one thing wrong today. Probably. I don't think we'll be correct on everything we say in terms of the tournament. But
Yeah,
maybe we will be.
we're trying.
Yeah. I mean, hey, 1 in 9 quintillion. Let's be that. Let's be that. So as soon as it starts up, we'll bring you the coverage. But
we can already start with who everyone knows is going to be the
the
first seed in the West there.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, I think it's got to be Gonzaga, right, Connor? That's my feeling.
Just a little bit completely undefeated.
Yeah, I mean they're 26-0, 15-0 in the conference. They're number one ranked by the AP poll. They're ranked first in points per game in Division I at 92. They just beat BYU in like a huge comeback.
Yeah, that was a bad game for BYU.
This is their 21st or 22nd consecutive appearance in the NCAA tournament, which is just like insane.
They're always good, but have not been good enough to win.
Right, to win the whole thing. Yeah.
This could be their year.
Could be. Why don't you tell us a little bit about a man named Jalen Suggs?
Yeah, I mean, he's made the case for probably the biggest breakout of all players. He's been a complete superstar this year. Kind of cemented himself from maybe late first round kind of point guard, and then he's just jumped up all the way to like top 5 overall pick, competing up there for best point guard with Cade Cunningham.
He's insane.
A former quarterback recruit to Minnesota, could have played in the NFL potentially. Decided to take his chances as a I think like a 4-star recruit in basketball, and he's kind of taken off with that. I think he is one of the highest ceilings in this class. I mean, all of Gonzaga is a strong team. People calling Corey Kispert the best shooter in all of college basketball potentially. He's had an incredible season. And then don't forget Drew Timme. He like a stretch big man. He can pass the ball. He's been there. I think he's a senior this year. He's been there a while, trying to get his championship at some point. Yeah, exactly. He's been so close multiple times, and then Joel Ayayi is like the kind of, he was a bench player last year, but he's kind of a combo guard, fill-in type of role. He's done a really great job. I mean, that is the team to beat this year. They've been one seeds. They've been 1 seeds before. They've never been the team to beat.
I don't think so. Now the question is, right? Can they pull it off this year? I mean, in the past, right? In the past 3 years, they've been ranked 1, 4, and 1, and they've only made they've made the championship one of those years, but they underperformed in the other 2. Like I feel like with Gonzaga, a lot of times what happens is they fall short all the time of their goals, right?
But I don't think a Gonzaga team has been this good before.
This is true.
No Gonzaga team has had a Jalen Suggs superstar with a really good team around him that looks like number 1 in the country by far, not even like close almost. No Gonzaga team has looked like that. So I do think this is their best shot to get it. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say if they'll do it or not. I am going to pick them to win. I think a lot of people will in the end.
I agree. I think a lot of people will pick them to win. I mean, I think compared to the other teams that are going to be 1, like Michigan or Illinois probably will be 1, and Baylor, they've all had losses recently, like not good ones as well. Like Illinois, I mean, I think they're still playing Ohio State right now, or I don't know if it just finished, but close game versus Ohio State, which is a good team, but Gonzaga destroyed everyone they played this year. They won very, very confidently, which to me,
Yeah, Illinois. That game went to OT. It was supposed to end, but I believe Illinois is just coming out with the win, or did come out with the win already. But they did win that.
I mean, it's not that Ohio State's a bad team. I just think that, comparatively, right? I think that Gonzaga has been much more dominant this year, and I think I will end up picking them to win most of my brackets. We'll see. I mean, again, with everything that happens in March Madness, what you think is going to happen generally doesn't.
I mean, it's a game. It's one game. You don't got a series. It's not the NBA playoffs. A team could come out hot. I mean, that's why it's so hard to predict. But I feel like if you're gonna play it safe, there's no other team you can pick other than Gonzaga.
Do they push it back?
They might have a bit just to wait for that final game to end.
They did, because I'm checking myself. Where is it? And you're talking about it.
With Illinois going to OT.
But with that being said about March Madness, is lots of times, the one seeds, obviously in the past, we're not saying Gonzaga is going to lose to a 16 seed. I think they're way too good for that. I mean, I don't think they're going to pull. They're going to pull Virginia on us, right? I mean, although that year I did have Virginia go into the finals. So, I mean, I just think that, Gonzaga is I do agree. I think they are the team to beat this year. Do you want to talk about the other teams or the teams that we think are going to be ones? We can talk about those in the meantime.
Yeah, sure. Let's
talk about the team that just won. Was it the SEC or the ACC or one of the divisions? That would be Illinois. And Illinois, surprisingly good season from them. I personally did not think that they were going to be I mean, maybe they make the tournament, but this good. That's unusual for them.
Yeah, they've been incredible.
Uncharted waters, really, for Illinois. And obviously, they're 22-6, 16-4 in the Big Ten. They're 16th in points per game with 81. They're third in the AP poll. They killed Rutgers. They absolutely killed Rutgers the other day. They beat Iowa by 9, and then they just beat Ohio State in the finals of the Big Ten tournament, right?
Yeah, and Iowa's been great recently. That's a big win. Ohio State's obviously been good as well. Yeah, a bit of a surprise. People were expecting a kind of drop off for Illinois. They were quite good team last year, but people were expecting Ayo Dosunmu to go to the league. I mean, he was looking like a top prospect then. He's even looked like a better prospect this year almost.
Right.
But he decided to come back. I mean, a lot of people came back this year because they couldn't get there. All of them want to go to one tournament just to see how it is, and that was taken from a lot of these players. So a lot more returns than most years. And then, of course, the other kind of star on that team, Kofi Cockburn, they have an incredible inside-outside kind of combination between those two, and they have looked like, I mean, other than Gonzaga, they've looked, as of late, easily the most on-fire team.
They're in my opinion, the second best team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking early at the season, they didn't look like a top team, really. But in the past, 10 games or so, they've just been dominant.
No, they've been really, really good. And this is the first time in a while that they've appeared. I mean, their last appearance was in 2013. So it's been a while since they've been in the tournament, right? It's not like, I think before I started, before all of us started in brackets and stuff like that, they weren't in the tournament. So, they've appeared 31 times. The record is 40-31. Haven't been in a while. So, Connor, do you think that not being in the tournament year after year could possibly hurt them this year, not knowing what to expect?
I think it's kind of a toss-up in that sense because you see teams that aren't in the tournament much, they decide to just completely come out with fire and make crazy upsets or crazy runs on tournaments. I mean, you've seen, as I'm wearing Syracuse, they make it probably half the years or so.
Right.
I mean, more recently, but like those times that they make it and they're kind of upset teams, they make it to the Final Four, or they have Carmelo Anthony win it all for them. Like
Right.
those teams kind of catch fire. They're like, wow, we made it. We gotta make it count. And
Right.
Illinois, of course, they were going to be a top seed last year as well. But I mean, yes, you could choke under pressure. You could not be up to it, but a lot of these teams, they make it count when it matters.
Right. And I think that this year, right, there are a lot of teams that we don't typically see like on our list. You know what I'm saying? Like Alabama typically is not this good at basketball,
Yeah,
right?
the SEC
LSU.
has been weird this year. LSU and Alabama topping it off.
Like I feel like, obviously we see teams like Kansas who make it year after year, but like, I mean, you look to any one of these pages and you look at the teams and you're like, you know, Georgia Tech. I mean, they're not typically like one of the. I mean, I don't know if they're one of the better teams, but they're not one of the teams.
Especially not,
Tennessee and
especially not high seeds. High seeds have been
right,
wild this year.
right.
I
I mean,
mean, probably
Tennessee
no
and
Duke,
ones
probably
and
no
twos this.
Kentucky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's insane. And I think this is a good time to probably talk about a team that we might not get a lot of time to talk about today. That would be Duke. And Connor, Duke likely not to make it this year for the first time since 1995. Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I mean, there's still a chance, but wow. I mean, 25 years, 26, I think. That's ridiculous. They came into the season with like a stacked team, dare I say. I mean, Jalen Johnson, a top 10 prospect. They came out with DJ Stewart and Matthew Hood, both probably going to be drafted. Like they had a team that should have been, I mean, way better than they were. And
Right.
they did look good in the ACC tournament. They kind of turned it around then, and then COVID hits, and they have to like forfeit out of it. I mean,
Right.
they had a chance to beat Kansas. Maybe not too high a chance. They had a chance to beat Kansas, and then kind of the tournament hopes just cut down by COVID.
Right. And I think, I mean, we'll see what happens tonight. They're obviously not projected to make the tournament. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's some worse teams that are making the tournament though at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the teams that you kind of see as worse, though, a lot of them have kind of won it by like
But
division
they've
or
made it by winning their conference or whatever, right?
yeah,
Like they've made it by
yeah.
winning like the Big Sky or whatever.
Like
Southern
Liberty makes it like almost every year because they win whatever conference
whatever
they're
conference.
in.
Like Colgate. I mean, Colgate's obviously a good team, or not a bad team, but they made it this year by winning the Patriot USA conference, right? Like there are plenty of different teams that make it just based off of winning. So it leaves Duke very small margin to make the tournament without really winning anything. You know,
Yeah.
scary for them. Scary for us. It's a talking point. Um, but it's gonna
Can't
be crazy.
say I'm mad about it, you know? No
I mean,
Kentucky
usually,
and no Duke sounds
yeah,
like fun to me in a tournament.
yeah, no Kentucky, no Duke, and UNC is just not very good this year as well. Like UNC, what they're projected to be like a 9 seed this year.
Yeah, they haven't been incredible.
Hmm. But
A
I
lot
just
of
think
teams
that
just it's a different. Yeah, I
to
hope this
be
is how it kind of trajects in the future, where it's the tournament is much different. I think a lot of that was also due to like COVID kind of hit, and then prospects kind of got jumbled a lot.
mhm.
But I kind of like this. It's a very different bracket from what you usually see.
It feels very different, and it feels like there's less guaranteed than there usually is, which isn't very much. Like usually, you're thinking when you're making the bracket, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do the ones and the twos and the threes first. Like I'm gonna get the ones where I think like they're all probably gonna advance past the first round, right? And this year, I think some of that is true, but I think that there's so many variables this year. You really, I think beyond probably a 5 seed, it's definitely a toss up for every matchup. Like I mean, I look at 12 seeds versus fives, and historically, obviously, 12 seeds have had the better of 5 seeds. But like this year, like the teams are very even, in my opinion, anyways, right?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
sevens and sixes and all that sort of stuff. So It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say because some of these teams just haven't made the tournament in forever or ever.
I would say like Gonzaga, Baylor, and then Iowa, and I guess Michigan as well, but are the only teams that kind of played up to what they were supposed to be. I'd actually say Michigan exceeded, but Gonzaga, Baylor, they're like, yes, they're 1 seeds. But with that, it was like Wisconsin was supposed to be crazy good this year.
Nope, they were.
Villanova,
supposed to be good, right?
yeah, Villanova, Virginia was supposed to be the other 2 1 seeds, I'm pretty sure. Duke,
Tennessee
Kentucky was supposed to be at least 3 seeds, at most 3 seeds.
I mean, Texas Tech probably was projected to be way higher. I mean, they were in the finals 2 years ago, to the last tournament, right?
Yeah.
Take us to now, they're probably an 8 seed. You know, like things change quickly. But I like it. I think that this year it offers a lot that we haven't seen before, and it really has changed what we see and what we know about March Madness. And this year, like all years, is going to be mad, but I think that it's going to be even crazier than in years prior.
So our first bracket is pretty much picked now. I will right now throw that on the board for you. We're looking at, as expected, Gonzaga versus Norfolk State or Appalachian State. I think kind of the...
I have a good feeling Gonzaga is going to
Drake is in to play Wichita State. That's not good for me as a Syracuse fan, because that could mean Syracuse is not in the first 4. But kind of what's expected, Oklahoma, Missouri. I think Missouri was supposed to be a bit higher seed, like going into it. Creighton obviously has had a good season.
Although they did just lose. I mean, let's talk about Creighton first. Like, I think that they're let me just find them for a second. I don't think I had them in the West, and they moved back into the West. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about Creighton for a second. 20-8, 14-6 in the Big East, 51st in points per game at 77, ranked 17th in the AP poll. They beat Connecticut, right? Did they get smacked by Georgetown? Like, that's not something that I expected to happen. How about you?
Georgetown has been somehow just beating teams that they are not projected to. I mean, they've looked great recently, but yeah, you wouldn't expect them to lose by like almost 30 points. It was crazy. I mean, they have a good... They were supposed to be a good team. They have a good team. They have Mitch Ballack on the team. They have Denzel Mahoney on the team. They have a solid team. But, I mean, I'm surprised that Georgetown lost and bump them down a few seeds further than 5.
Right. It definitely, in my opinion, it should have. I mean, that's a big loss right there in the finals of the tournament. Let's talk about Iowa for a second. The 2 seed in the West, taking on Grand Canyon State, who we'll get to Grand Canyon, who we'll get to next. But Iowa, let's start off with them. 21-8, 14-6 in the Big Ten, 3rd. Number 5 ranked in the AP poll, ranked 6th in points per game in Division 1. They took down Wisconsin and lost Illinois by 9. They've never reached the finals of the NCAA tournament, and this is the first time since 2006 that they are seated inside the top 5. So new territory for them.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it up to the guy on the screen, Luke Garza. He's just been a new monster. Again, another player. He's going to go to the draft, and then he decides to stay back another year to take his hopes to the tournament. I mean, and he has a couple great teammates. Joe Wiskamp is there. And, I mean, you got to mostly give it up to Garza because he's just been top 3 player in all of college basketball.
He's been great for a while. And I was in a really nice job this year. And, obviously, their first round matchup this year, they're taking on Grand Canyon, who, believe it or not, is a school that I did research. And so Grand Canyon, let's talk about them. They're 17-6, 9-3 in the WAC, which is first. They're ranked 9th in points allowed per game in Division 1 at 61. And they beat New Mexico State in the WAC finals, 74-56. And this is their first NCAA tournament.
Is it really?
I mean, come on. According to Wikipedia, this is their first NCAA.
I thought I remember them in one before.
I
Hmm.
see. I thought I did too, but I looked up on Wikipedia and I looked up for all teams, and it said there was nothing that came up. So maybe they have been. I don't believe they have, according to Wikipedia, but that could be very wrong. Um, does Grand Canyon have a shot, Connor, in the first round?
Well, bar a Luke Garza injury, I'm gonna say no, but I mean you can't say no with March Madness.
Right.
Um,
I think
I
it's
mean,
about as definitive as
as you
right.
mentioned, that they're a strong but defensive team there. Um,
Mhm.
so with that, they can definitely make some upsets happen. But I mean, Iowa's just been so good that I don't think I can see it. Um,
Mhm.
Again, 3 seed Kansas.
Mhm.
Kind of expected them
As
probably to be higher, right? But
not according to CBS. They're predicted to be a 3 seed. 20-8, 12-6 in the Big 12,
yeah,
which is second, 58th in opponents' points per game at 65, 11th in the AP poll. They've appeared in the NCAA tournament 48 times. Combined record is 108 to 47. The last tournament appearance was in 2019 with a second round exit to Auburn. Kansas has struggled lately, Connor. If I'm going to be
yeah,
honest, they've
and
struggled.
last year they were going for it all. Last year they had Devin Dotson. He had a really good college season. Adoka Azubuike. Both of those guys got drafted, and they still were able to kind of come back, rebuild well. Ochai Agbaji has been great for them over the past few years. And then they have, I think, defensive player of the year last year, or maybe the year before in college basketball, in Marcus Garrett. So they still have a solid core to build around. I mean, 3 seed's still obviously a good seed. So, kind of
Yeah.
what you'd expect from them. They have
Mhm.
had a great year for kind of what they were left with after their best two players left last year. Um, and then 4 seed Virginia.
Mm-hmm. 18-6, 13-4 in the ACC, 16th in the AP poll. Connor, I think this is going to be a problem for them going forward. They're 248th in points per game in Division One, which is just not good. They're only scoring 68 points a game.
Yeah,
They're letting up only 60, which is good for sixth, but they haven't been very good this year, unfortunately.
yeah. I mean, obviously your defense is stellar, but if they go against a superstar, um,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to keep them to 60 points. You know.
Right, and as you
Um,
know, as the defending champions, right, of March Madness this year, um, I just don't think they have a shot at really getting that far. They're not a dynamic team to me.
They
They're
still have a
not a team.
solid roster. A couple of the guys have stayed since that championship the past few years. I think Jay Huff is a 5th year senior there. Potentially, he's a 3 point shooting, passing stretch big man. He's been really good. Kai
Mm-hmm.
Clark is a really raw point guard prospect. You can kind of see his playmaking ability. Also, he is like I think maybe the best free throw percentage in college basketball, what he did last year. Sam Hauser
Mm-hmm.
has been another kind of stretch four type player for them. I mean, they have good players. They were expected to be a good team, but it's not that same team that I think can win a championship.
I have to agree about that. I just don't think they're very. I just don't think they're very. They don't have what it takes. I think to win it this year. Um, do we are is Creighton a 5 seed? I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. So
So
down to
then
six
who's the
is
6 seed?
USC. I mean,
USC.
everyone knows who's on USC. It's Evan Mobley City down there. Um, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's what most people think he's the number 2 prospect, best center in the draft. Could go number 1 depending on who gets the pick. He's been ridiculous, and USC themselves have been a solid team with him.
Yeah, they've had a good season. I mean, they're 22-7, 15-5 in the Pac-12, ranked 87th in points per game at 74. Um, you know, I think the biggest thing for them is they just lost to Colorado in the Pac-12 tournament, 72-70. It's a close game, right? Um, but A, they're not in the tournament a lot, and B, you know, is it announced who they're taking on yet, or are they taking on a first four team?
They're going to be taking on either Wichita State or Drake.
Yeah, see, with Wichita State, I mean, they're in the tournament a lot. I think if Wichita State ends up winning that match, you could probably possibly see an upset in that regard.
I don't know.
Um, I mean, their last appearance was in 2017 and they lost in the second round to Baylor. Um, USC is a good team though. Like, don't get me wrong, they're a good
It's
team.
tough when you have like the superstars on your team because you never
This is
see
true.
a superstar can either take over in the tournament or it's just like a they're so hard to
A
predict
dud.
how those teams will
Right.
go because
Right. Right. Right.
you
Right.
could have Cardiac Kemba take UConn to the finals
Hmm.
or you could just completely just bust out even though you're gonna get even though you have like the number one pick, you know.
Hmm.
It's so tough to kind of predict how that works.
Right. Yeah, it's again, it's gonna be a tough year, but I think USC is a team that definitely can win that match. I mean, again, I think they're probably predicted to win. I'm just saying that Wichita State usually is in the tournaments. They're definitely have the
Definitely have a
ability,
chance,
right,
yeah.
to
This seven
to
ten is an interesting matchup. Oregon VCU. Um,
yeah. Well, VCU just lost today to Saint Bona, right?
yeah.
If I'm
Um,
correct.
I mean, they have Sean Highland, but
Hmm.
overall, they were better last year. They were better the year before. Um,
Yeah,
and if,
and VCU has definitely been on the downtrend. Oregon, again, this is gonna be a tough one to pick because I'm not a big VCU fan, right? They just lost today, but Oregon just lost to Oregon State in a match. They're in a game. They're
they
like
were
really
supposed to win. Yeah,
right. So for me, you got two teams that really have been underperforming as of recent. You
I'm
know,
pretty sure VCU is the team that Taco Fall put like 20 on. And so maybe they're trying to get their game back from that appearance.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's kind of I mean, Oregon had a nice season, right? 20-6 and 14-4 in the Pac-12. Um, but they really they don't do really they're not good on particularly good on either side of the ball. They're just all right. Um, and again, they lost to Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament by 9. In a game they were predicted to win. So it's kind of what can you really expect from them to do against VCU? That's gonna be a tough matchup to predict. I'm not really hot on either team. Uh, I don't know. After VCU's loss today, it kind of makes me not want to pick VCU. You know,
yeah,
after that loss today, but I don't know. Difficult. What do you think, Connor?
yeah. I think I'd still. That's such a tough matchup. I think I'd still lean VCU, honestly, even with the
I
loss
have to
today.
agree.
But I mean, both teams could easily just put up a stinker in that matchup.
It's gonna be that one right there is a real toss up, and I don't think either team is gonna be making it to this, to the third round. I think unless
Oklahoma, Missouri is
yeah,
an
Oklahoma,
interesting one.
Missouri. So Oklahoma, right? Let's start with them. 15-10 in the Big 12, 9-8 in the Big 12. Sorry, 25th in the AP poll, and lost to Kansas in the Big 12 tournament. Uh, but Missouri just lost as well. So, Connor,
Yeah.
tell us your thoughts about Missouri.
I'm not the. I think Missouri, yeah, with that loss, they kind of dropped about what 3 seeds? Would you say maybe? Um,
About it, I think, right? I mean,
they they
they
they've
were going to be like a 7 or an 8.
they've not been good in the tournament in recent years at all. Uh,
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm definitely leaning Oklahoma in that matchup. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a toss up. Both the teams haven't again had lost their last matchups. Obviously, the good teams. I mean, Missouri losing to Illinois,
Arkansas by
to
6
Arkansas,
is
sorry,
right.
and
Yeah. I
Oklahoma
mean,
to
yeah. I mean,
Kansas.
Oklahoma's ranked in the AP.
Yeah,
Missouri just
yeah. I
that's
mean,
probably the deciding factor for me looking at like who's going to win. I mean, Missouri just I mean, they haven't made past the first round since 2010. So when they make the tournament, they usually lose in the first round. So I don't know.
I
I'm
think
leaning
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
has
as well.
pretty good success getting it pretty far. I don't think they've won, but they have pretty good success getting it far in some of these. I don't think they beat Gonzaga in
They
round
do.
two, but I'm definitely leaning Oklahoma.
I think that's smart.
The
I think
11.
yeah, go ahead.
That I mean, I was just gonna say. Then we go on to a first four matchup.
Do we
Two in the
cover
West.
our other seeds, Ohio and UC, BC, or whatever those teams are?
Yeah. So we can just skip the 11. Go to the 12, which is UCSB.
Right.
Plays Creighton.
Yeah, I mean, as I attempt to find this team, because everything has been jumbled up now. UCSB, 21-4, 15-3 in the Big West, ranked 37th in the AP poll, 60th in points per game and 20th in points allowed per game in Division One. Took down LBSU and UC Davis to advance to the Big West Finals, where they beat UC Irvine by 16. Have appeared in only 5 NCAA tournaments. Record is 1-5, first time since 2011.
Not a good record, but you said 60th in points per game and 20th in points allowed. That's that's good.
Those are important numbers right there.
Those are good numbers. Those are better than 12 seed numbers.
And with Creighton just losing to Georgetown, this is probably my first upset of the tournament. I would say like big upset. I don't think that Creighton is in any sort of winning position. While UCSB is not an incredible team, the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they have like better stats than Creighton does themselves in Division One. Obviously, probably easier opponents as well, just based on division. But I mean, that's especially coming off a 30-point loss to a team that you were projected to beat.
Right.
That's tough if you're Creighton. I mean, this team definitely. What I'm looking at right now, they seem like they should be higher than a 12 seed.
Right.
But stuck in the 12.
So I definitely think UCSB has a chance at winning this matchup. And, again, they just beat UC Irvine, the second best team, or the runner-up, by 16 to win the Big West, right? So they were dominant this year in the Big West, and they only lost 4 games all season. So definitely a matchup to look a little bit closer at than just, a simple just higher seed winner one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk to us about the 11 seed playing game?
Yeah, so you have Wichita State versus Drake. Wichita State, as Michael mentioned earlier, is a constant factor in these tournaments. They won
they won the American Atlantic Championship, beating South.
Yeah, and they're ranked in AP. I think they've been good.
They're ranked 32nd in the AP poll.
Yeah.
So not a slouch team. Not a slouch team.
It's definitely a possibility for Drake to win it, but I think it was kind of expected either way. For me, even if Syracuse made it, Syracuse hasn't been great this year, that Wichita State would kind of make it out of that 11 seed. But I mean, it's an 11 seed matchup, so who knows?
Wichita State historically has been pretty good in the NCAA tournament, at least in the first round. They're 18-5, 18-15, excuse me, in the tournament. So
fairly good.
Against a team that maybe doesn't have as much experience, definitely something to consider there.
On to the third OU.
Yep.
The third OU after Oregon and Oklahoma is Ohio. In the tournament.
A team, did they not just win yesterday? I believe they won either yesterday or today to make the tournament. Because hold on, let me flip.
Yeah, they beat Buffalo, I believe.
They did beat Buffalo.
To kind of completely upset the Mid-American. They were not expected to win the Mid-American. I mean, but they are an offensive threat team. They are heavy offensive. Let up a lot of points as well. So they're looking to come out and score. Score 75 on Virginia, score 80 on Virginia, to try to win that.
Yeah, with those two, it's going to be a shootout. And again, as I said earlier, Virginia very good defensively, right? So it's going to be an interesting to see who wins that kind of defensive versus offensive part of the game. Um, I think it could be a little bit closer than people expect. I do think Virginia will come out on top, but again, it's one of those matchups that you look at it, and if Ohio's able to Virginia, then you gotta think that Ohio's got a good chance of winning that.
I still favor Virginia in those first two
Yeah,
matchups. But I mean, what I'm seeing personally is Gonzaga has kind of an easy road to Sweet 16, or to Elite Eight,
yeah,
even that.
I agree. I think that
Then they go against Iowa or Kansas, but
right, and Eastern Washington. Let's just talk about
yeah,
that for a second.
Big
These are the
Sky.
last.
I don't know if a Big Sky team has ever won a tournament round.
I don't believe so. I mean,
I think that's a wash for Kansas. I mean, of course there can be upsets, but Eastern Washington isn't the team you're like, wow, that's a 16 seed that can make an upset. I'm looking at Appalachian State as the team. Maybe, probably not Grand Canyon, but Appalachian State is the team that could. We've kind of talked about Grand Canyon already. Thought they made it before. I guess they haven't. But yeah, our final 16 matchup, Appalachian State, Norfolk State. Yeah, I think Appalachian State has been a pretty good team, at least making it a
right.
lot.
Yeah, I got to think that App State is probably going to win this one. And again, do I think that they provide any sort of real challenge to Gonzaga? No, I don't think they do. But looking at this side of the bracket, I don't know. To me, I think Gonzaga's probably got this wrapped up. I don't see any teams that are.
I mean, of course,
they're playing their best and Gonzaga's not playing well.
I think I was the team that could make the Final Four there. I was probably the best 2 seed, in my opinion.
I think I agree with that. I think they're the best 2 seed, but Gonzaga
maybe Oklahoma State just because of Cunningham. But yeah, that pretty much wraps out a West.
That wraps up the West for us. What is up next, Connor?
Yeah, we got of course Baylor, your 1 seed.
We talk in the South
to
now.
No surprise, despite Baylor just coming off of a loss.
Yeah, the loss to OSU.
Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, Baylor 22-2 on the season, 13-1 in the Big 12, second in the AP poll, ranked 3rd in points per game in Division I at 84-4. Upset by OSU in the Big 12 tournament, though.
Yeah, I don't think. I think a team like where you're playing a team with the clear number 1 prospect, they can have those takeover games. So I don't think it's the biggest upset in the world, as it would be if it was more like I mean, they would have probably beat Ohio State in the grand finals, even though Oklahoma State lost to them. Yeah, but another player on Baylor, Jared Butler, decided to return for a season, despite most people thinking he would have gone to the draft, and that kind of made them very early favorites to win the whole thing. I mean, Masio Teague pairs with him, creates a deadly backcourt, and they have a really good defensive team at that as well. Even though they're 3rd in points per game, they still have really good defensive players in Mark Vital, and all Big 12 defensive player, and Davion Mitchell, a really good 2-way guard. I mean, yes, they got upset by OSU, but I mean, this team is really good.
Yeah, let's talk about their competition for a second. Hartford, out of the American East, they beat UMass Lowell. I think it was yesterday, right? They beat UMass Lowell.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were 14-8, 8-6 in the American East. Never have appeared in the
8-6, and they somehow won that tournament. That's wild.
Yeah, they've never appeared in the NCAA tournament, and I think they're probably going to be stuck with 1 game in the NCAA tournament this year. So
I think like Maryland, Baltimore was supposed to make it out of that, and Hartford made a huge upset. I mean, playing Baylor, number one, is definitely tough. I mean, they have. I mean, if they were able to come from 8-6 in a conference and win, I'm sure they have some chance. But I mean, a team
I
that
don't know. I don't
that
think so.
was projected probably 0.01% going into the American East tournament to even make the bracket a tough
Hey,
position to
crazier
be in.
things have happened. You
No,
know?
I don't think crazier things of that, honestly. I mean, a 16 is beating a 1, but not a 16 that was 8-6 in their conference.
Yeah, you know what? You're right about that. I don't think they're gonna win though. So I don't think we have to worry about that. Our two
UNC.
seed Connor is who is our two
Oh,
seed out of
going down to
this?
2 seed, it's Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Ohio State today. Um, Obviously they played today. They lost. Um, but other than that, they've been very, very good. 21-8, 12-8 in the Big Ten, ranked ninth in the AP poll, which is a little surprising that they're a two
Wait,
seed,
they won.
third seed.
They won
Wait,
against
sorry, what?
Michigan. They beat Michigan
Sorry,
in the upset.
right. Sorry, they beat Michigan in the Big Ten champion.
Yeah, they were going to be like a
Oh, I'm sorry.
3-4
I'm sorry.
seed, and then they won.
Yeah, they beat
Michigan was
excuse me.
projected by like 7 points. They won on like a last second like layup.
Yeah,
I
Ohio
think.
State won by 1 point. That's right.
A great game. That was a fun game to watch. Michigan was down by like 15 points and almost pulled it back. But yeah,
Tell
I mean,
us a little bit about Ohio State this year, Connor.
yeah, DJ Carton left for, I believe, Marquette. Left Ohio State for Marquette, and they were not projected to be, obviously, winner of the Big Ten at that. But they found a really good, like, 8 people averaging over 10 points, a really good foundation there. EJ Liddell kind of being their top scorer, being their main contributor. Dwayne Washington Jr., I think the most played player at that kind of he plays combo guard. He's not a pure point guard, but kind of plays around there. I mean, they have a solid roster. They don't have a superstar, but they have a really solid rotation of players.
Right, and Ohio State has been they're in the tournament. This is the first time they've been this good though, like comparatively to the other teams. I think that they have a real good shot at coming out of the South this year, as in terms of being in the Final Four. Again, I think Baylor. I don't know. I'm not so hot on Baylor, especially after their recent loss. And Ohio State, they've won recently. They've been winners. So, that's really important going into the tournament. Connor, what are your thoughts on Ohio State's chances this year?
Yeah. I honestly think it's Arkansas will beat Ohio State. I think
so?
the kind of, I mean, I guess I'll move the talk to Arkansas. The complete explosion of Moses Moody this year has made them a way better team. I mean, they had their 2 easily best players, Isaiah Joe, Mason Jones, leave, and then Moses Moody comes in and like jumps up crazily from what he was projected. I
mean, look, Arkansas has been a great team this year, 22-6, 13-4 in the SEC, which I believe is only behind Alabama, right? In the SEC.
Yeah.
They're 7th in points per game. They're ranked 8th in the AP poll, so they're actually ranked above Ohio State. They beat Missouri, but then they lose to LSU. So Connor, tell us why you think that a team that just lost to LSU, who lost today to Alabama, has a shot at beating Ohio State.
I think LSU has. I mean, that was a huge upset, of course. But I just think they have a superstar player in Moses Moody who kind of was not expected to be much. I don't even know if he was a 5-star recruit. He's exploded. And then in their past 3 matchups, they were missing a key contributor in Jalen Williams, who was injured. So, yeah, they lost. They were missing one of their key contributors. Of course, they were still projected to win. But I mean, it's understandable they lose, and he is going to be back for the tournament. He is going to be back for their matchup against Ohio State when they get to it, bar any re-injury. And that's when they looked the best, was earlier this year with their full roster.
I definitely think that the South is definitely much more of a competition. I think Baylor, Ohio State, Arkansas, I think those are three really, really good teams. And I think that, I don't know, I don't feel very good about Baylor and Ohio State. I do about Arkansas with you. I think the Ohio State Arkansas, if that matchup does happen,
that's gonna be a fun game to watch.
It's gonna be a fun one to watch for sure. Arkansas, much more consistent usually in the NCAA tournament, in terms of making it, than Ohio State. So we'll see the effect that has this year. Obviously we've been talking about it quite a bit today. Connor, the 4 seed in the South Division, Purdue, the Boilermakers, one of my teams I like to root for. They've been good. 18-9, 13-6, and 10, 20th in the AP poll. Not great offensively, pretty decent defensively. They obviously lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, but they've been very, very good. Especially recently in 2019, a loss to Virginia in the Elite Eight, our defending champions. But this year, it feels like they're lacking stuff. Connor, tell us a little bit about your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, Trevion Williams has had a great year, but in that 2019 season, he was like one of the most efficient shooters by true shooting percentage in the league, and that kind of gearheaded them towards such a good finish in the Elite Eight. Then he is obviously shooting the ball more. His efficiency's kind of fallen off. He's still obviously a strong player, but they don't have that kind of same sense. They were expecting an explosion from him going into this year, and there wasn't that. They lost to Ohio State
by 9, I believe.
I mean, they're not amazing scoring wise. Ranked 20th, but got a 4 seed.
Between 3 and 4 this year.
Yeah, and the 5 seed, I mean, a team that is one of the best in March Madness historically, and dare I say, a revenge match after Purdue had one of the biggest upsets, a pretty big upset over Villanova in 2019, and now in the second round, a big potential matchup as we head to the 5 seed. Villanova, they did lose to Georgetown, who's been on a hot streak, but a good record for the Big East. I mean, one of the most winningest teams recently.
Yeah, I mean, they've been historically a very, very good team. This year, though, it just does not feel like, to
this
me,
year
they're not the same team.
It was so unfortunate. This team could have been so good, and then Colin Gillespie out for the season, and everything went down the drain. And it's just that they haven't looked good recently. They lost to Georgetown. I mean, Georgetown obviously has had an incredible Big East tournament, but I mean, you lose your superstar player. It is so tough to kind of everyone to be on the same page after that and still try to win. I mean, they would have been at most a 3 seeder, probably a 2 seeder, 1 seeder if he was healthy the whole year. But
yeah, they've struggled this year.
They really still could beat Purdue. Don't get me wrong. But as a revenge game, especially, trying to get back to that. But I mean, without your best player, it is tough.
Yeah, it just feels like between the 3 and everyone else, there's just a drop.
Now on to a finalists of 2019, Texas Tech. Big fall to a 6 seed.
Big drop for them. Yeah, especially they just haven't been very good this season. It's not they're 17-10. They're 9-8 in the Big 12, and they're 126 in points per game. and they lost to Texas in the Big 12 tournament. So like they're not a very strong team, right? And you know,
I mean,
they're good, they're not great.
yeah, they definitely aren't as good as they were in 2019, but they were a 4 seed then, maybe a 3 seed, but they weren't a 1 seed then either to make the finals.
That's
They
true.
make
That's true.
runs, but I mean, you lost some players, a good amount of seniors. Obviously, you still have Cameron Shannon, and then they. And then, of course, from that team, I think Kyler Edwards is still there, and he was a kind of big contributor that kind of jumped up that season to help them.
Mhm.
But it's not the same team that's
It's
making it
not
to
the
the
same team that
championship.
made the run. And in the Big 12 this year, they were only 9-8. So
Yeah,
that tells me
that's
that
not incredible.
in division opponents, they're just not very strong. And while they might advance past the first round this year, we'll get to who they're playing a little bit later. To me, it just doesn't feel like Texas Tech has a real shot this year, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, I, I obviously, I mean, they were in what Gonzaga's bracket in 2019. Majority of people just had Gonzaga making
like
it
me coming
out pretty handily, and then Texas Tech makes that Sweet 16 upset
Right.
to beat them. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's,
it's possible.
anything can happen. I just feel like this year it's just a bit different for them. Just
Well,
feel like it's not there. The magic spark, you know?
on to Florida,
Mm-hmm.
the 7 seed here.
Yeah, a little bit lower than I thought they would be.
Uh,
I
they
thought they'd be
they were. I mean, they were a lot better earlier in the season, and kind of haven't been the best. Lost to Tennessee, a couple losses recently.
yeah.
But I mean, you got to give it up for Trey Mann leading that team, jumping up 11 points in his second season. That is ridiculous from him. And Florida was not projected to be that good this year. And then they came out so hot early in the season.
Right.
Bit of a fall off recently. Unranked. I know they were ranked much higher earlier, but
Right.
they're now unranked. Got a 7 seed. Playing Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech, they're a good team. You know, we look at Virginia Tech, and I want to talk about them for a second. I think that, Virginia Tech was like, they were like a couple seconds away from
Beating Duke.
essentially moving on in the ACC tournament, right? Or was that another
Or
team?
you to beat UNC.
Oh, I'm talking about West Virginia. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um,
Yeah,
I
Virginia
think
Virginia Tech was good. Virginia Tech was kind of probably expected to be up there in the ACC, and then they had a big upset loss to North Carolina.
Yeah, who then got upset themselves. I don't know, man. Virginia Tech seems like the stronger team to me out of these two. I like Trey Mann, and I think Florida's a good team, but I just think that Virginia Tech is stronger this year.
Yeah, on to a 8th seed matchup, 8-9 matchup is that same team we just talked about, UNC, who beat Virginia Tech, and then versus Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, that is just it's gonna be an interesting matchup, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, you
Because
had North Carolina, UNC, who had probably their worst, one of their worst seasons
one of their worst seasons in a
ever
long
last
time. I
year.
mean, right, 18-10, 10-6 in the ACC, just fifth.
And
Unranked in the
I
AP
mean,
poll and lost to Florida State by 3 in the tournament.
yeah, they had a good rebuild to get. I mean, last year they were terrible, and they were able to come out 5th in the ACC. Kind of Garrison Brooks, the only guy they lost 7 seniors, I think, or 6 seniors after 2 years ago, and then last year they were bad. They completely blew it up. Got like a bunch of new players. Garrison Brooks has been really good this year, kind of leading that team.
Right.
So probably a late first round pick there.
Hmm.
But I mean, they they done better than I think most people kind of expected them to.
Right.
In terms of how bad they were in 2019, doing a full rebuild. Obviously, teams like that
Hmm.
they're gonna get pretty good players off of that,
Yeah, and
regardless. But
their opponents, Wisconsin. I mean, disappointing season for Wisconsin for sure. I mean, they're 17-12, 10-10 in the Big Ten, which is sixth. They're ranked 30th in the AP poll. They're 222nd in points per game. They're 38th in points allowed. They lost to Iowa by 5, 19 consecutive appearances, national champions in 1941. Lost to 12 seeded
1941.
Oregon in 2019 and lost to Duke in the 2015 NCAA finals. In this matchup, it's difficult because neither of these teams have been good recently.
Yeah,
Um, Connor, what
Wisconsin
do you
Wisconsin has a weak backcourt. They have a really good front court with Nate Revers, Micah Potter. Both of them
think?
can kind of like move the ball well. Both of them can shoot as well. Very dynamic
Mhm.
players. Um, and then they just have a weak backcourt. I mean, they have always they got upset last tournament as you kind of appear, but they've always been a
Right.
fairly good tournament team. But
Hmm.
I mean, UNC kind of trying to get their redemption from last year, and then just I don't know. Wisconsin definitely worse than they were expected to be. A lot worse than they were
Yeah,
expected to be this year.
this one is definitely a toss up in terms of matchups, Connor. Um, I really don't have a gut feeling about either of these teams. I think it's just going to come down to, I mean, I think I'm probably going to go with UNC. I just think that Wisconsin having trouble scoring is it's that's that's tough. I mean, they were competitive with Iowa, but they did still lose. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Down to your 11 seed playing Texas Tech, you got Utah State. Um,
Yeah, let's talk about Utah State for a second.
I
A
think
team that,
they lost the. I think they got second in the Mountain West, losing to San Diego State.
right,
Um,
surprising that they're this highly seeded.
yeah, I mean San Diego's. I mean the Mountain West is not one of the like worst.
Not one of the worst conferences, that's for
But
sure.
I mean
I
the
didn't think they'd be this
Aggies.
high though.
Yeah, I didn't expect the Aggies to make it too too high. I mean, was, I think Matt Mitchell is San Diego State. Um,
Hmm.
with Nathan Mensa. I think you have Nemus Queta on Utah State, the center who's like I think leading the up there for blocks in college basketball. But yeah, I'm with you there. Do not think it'd be this high up.
No, and who are they playing again? Utah State.
Texas Tech, former last time's
Yeah,
runner
I think
ups.
Texas Tech is gonna move on that one. I don't feel great about Utah State in
Your
that one.
12 seed taking on Villanova is
Hmm.
Winthrop.
Winthrop. I didn't know what Winthrop was before I started doing a little research. Now I do. I can say I do.
Big South.
23-1, 17-1 in the Big South, ranked
Destroyed the Big
30th.
South, but they don't really have too much competition.
Right? I mean, they're 30th in points per game, 34th in the AP poll. Won the Big South tournament, beating Campbell by beating Campbell by 27. They've appeared in 10 double NCAA tournaments, and they're 1-10. Last appearance in 2017. They've been great this season, Connor, but man, taking on Nova, that's a tough ask right there. I think Nova comes away in that one.
Yeah, it's definitely a bad matchup. I mean, they're playing like at South Carolina. They're playing like High Point and Campbell and probably like Elon. I mean,
Yeah, these teams are not
You
great.
haven't seen him play incredible teams, but I mean, 12 seed. It's a Cinderella case.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not feeling. I
possible.
mean, look at they haven't made it in a while. They're not very good in the NCAA tournaments. Uh, it's possible, but like it's so difficult to kind of gauge how good a team is when they play Campbell and beat them by 27. It's not like I mean it's impressive, but it's not like
Winthrop
I think
is the
Nova.
team that made a upset against Notre Dame before in the tournament.
Mhm.
Like a really surprising upset. They have, uh, I mean, they're a Div 2 team, but they have the player that leads Division 2 in triple doubles, and they have a lot of like four or five 10-point per game players.
Mhm.
A really deep lineup. Um, I don't think it's it's your crazy Cinderella story
No, it's
game.
definitely not your crazy
Um,
Cinder.
but
I
with
don't think Winthrop is bad. I think that Villanova is just
but with
they're more
but with
experienced and they're a little
Villanova
yeah.
missing Koi Seppi,
I
it's
mean, yeah, but they played all season without him, right? So I don't see why that has to be a factor. I think that again, is Villanova a great team? No, but I think that they're better than. I'm not saying that Winthrop is bad. I just think that I don't know. I think that Villanova is much more experienced in this department. Just based off of how many times they've made it and kind of what to do. I think that's important.
next you got North Texas
Mhm.
here matching up against Purdue. Um,
Yeah, so North Texas,
beat
they
Western
beat
Kentucky.
Western Kentucky, which
That
was
was an upset.
unexpected. In Conference USA, they beat them by 4. They were 17-9 and 9-5 in Conference USA, 10th in opponent points per game, 61-2. They're unranked. They've appeared 3 times in the tournament. They have never won. And their last appearance was in 2010, where they lost to Kansas State in the first round. Connor, who are they taking on again?
Purdue.
I think Purdue's got this one.
I mean,
I think
you're
Western
looking at
Kentucky. Yeah.
Western Kentucky was supposed to be one of the better teams out of these like other conferences. Like they were in what do you say, Conference USA. Um,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you were kind of expecting Western Kentucky to come out and be a
Oh, I
solid
was.
seed
I
and
wholeheartedly was.
be an upset, and then North Texas takes them down. If they can take down
Out of
Western
nowhere. Out of
Kentucky,
nowhere.
who knows what they can go on to do? But
Yeah. I mean, Purdue is a good team. Um,
But I
as I
mean,
mentioned before.
a team. I mean, yes, they made a crazy upset. What team makes a crazy upset like that twice?
I don't know, man. I feel like North Texas has a shot though. Like I think
They have
Purdue
a
probably.
shot,
I think they have a
obviously.
good
But
shot though. I mean, they again teams on a roll are hard to stop sometimes, right? So, definitely something to consider, right?
next up, we have Colgate, winner of the Patriot division. I think
Today, winners of the
today.
Patriot Division today. Uh,
Uh,
very excited to be talking about Colgate. Um, they're 13-1, 11-1 in the Patriot. They're second in points per game. They're unranked in the AP poll. This is actually before they played today, but they absolutely destroyed. Was it Loyola today? I believe.
yeah,
They have never won. Last appearance in 2019 was a loss to number 2 Tennessee, and this year they're taking on Arkansas, I believe, right?
Arkansas. That's a tough
That's a
matchup.
tough ask right there. It's a tough ask.
But they
I
are
like Colgate.
playing a team that's one of those like superstar teams with Moses Moody
Right.
this year. Could potentially. I don't know much about Colgate. I know you know a player on it, so you're kind of excited for them.
I'm excited for Colgate this year. I think they will. No, but I am very excited to watch that matchup between Colgate and Arkansas. I think. I mean, look, Colgate looked pretty dominant today over Loyola. That's what I will say. That um, was watching quite a bit of that game. Uh, but Arkansas is a whole nother beast, isn't it, Connor? So let's
Yeah,
not get ridiculous here, right? But I think it's important to consider that Colgate could win. I think they're a strong team that they come out of Patriot USA quite often, or at
you
least recently,
you
right? So they've been good. So I think Arkansas is going to win
Your 15th seed here, winners of the Summit Division,
that. Hmm.
after being the 4th seed, kind of upsetting there all the Roberts, upsetting the 1 seed, and then upsetting North
Yeah,
Dakota State in the
again,
finals.
like most schools, I had not heard of Oral Roberts before. I realized that they had beaten North Dakota State in the Summit Division. 5 appearances in the tournament. They're 2-5. They haven't appeared in the tournament since 2008. They're only, but they haven't been great this season. They're 16-10, but they're 10-5 in division.
Yeah, I think the big upset I think I remember this team they like won by 1 point over San Diego State, which
Mhm.
was supposed to be kind of the clear winner out of this, but making a run in the Summit League. Um,
Yeah, but they're taking on such a tough team in Ohio State,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
That's a
mean,
tough ask. I don't think I got Oral Roberts in that one. I think, and we already covered Hartford,
we
didn't we?
already covered Hartford.
We already
Um,
covered Hartford. What's next? Are we moving on to the East or the
the
Midwest?
East,
The East. Let's get it.
with Michigan.
Michigan losing to Ohio State is
Both
becoming
sports.
quite normal in Michigan. The Big Blue not able to take down Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, losing by 1 point. They were able to beat Maryland by 13 in the round before. Um, they're pretty good. They're 63rd in points per game, 52nd in points per game. They're ranked fourth. They're 20-4 and 14-3 in the Big Ten. 26 appearances. Last appearance was lost in the Sweet 16 to Texas Tech. Um, Connor, can Michigan pull it off this year and really kind of make the best of this huge run they've had?
I mean, can they win the tournament? No, I do not have Michigan winning the tournament. Can they
Can
make
they
it
come out
out
of the
of?
East? Maybe?
Can they make it out of the East? I mean, you're playing Alabama. BYU's a big kind of sleeper team. Colorado, I like a lot.
I like
Texas,
Colorado. They've been
um,
good this season.
UConn with James Booknight. Yes, they can come out of the East.
I think the
Will I
East is very
predict them to
competitive.
come out of the East? I don't know yet. Um, but will they win it? No.
I mean, with Bama's win today, you got to look.
Yeah,
It's a big win for Bama, right?
yeah. I mean,
So,
and then Michigan has played that team LSU, who ended up making a crazy upset, though losing finals, making a crazy upset in
mhm.
semifinals. I mean, that's still a hot team. That's still a team that you're scared of. Um,
Right.
Michigan has a really good defensive team. Isaiah Livers is a big prospect on Michigan. The senior forward, probably going to be a first round, second round pick maybe. And then they also have Franz Wagner, the sophomore. Two pretty good defensive players. I think Livers is kind of a undersized forward. He plays the three, and then Wagner is like a 6'9" point guard almost, like this big, really big Ben Simmons type um,
Hmm.
player. So you kind of have this defensive tandem here that have been making lives for the teams that play hard, but there's no there's nobody on that team I see like this guy can take over and end up beating Alabama or
Right. Let's talk
upsetting.
about Alabama. We mentioned them quite a bit. 23-6, 16-2 in the SAC, which is first. 27th in points per game. They're sixth in the AP poll. Um, beat Mississippi State, beat Tennessee, which is, I mean, it's not a surprise this year, but other years it would have been. They take down LSU. Did they take down LSU? They did take down LSU in
Yep.
the finals. Um,
Yeah, beat Tennessee in the
I like
semifinals.
Alabama, man. I mean, they're a winning team. They've won a lot this year. Um, you know, again, they're 2 seeds. They're not going to have a tough road early on. At least I like Alabama right now. At least right now to come out of the East.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, you have Javon Quinley, um, a been a really good prospect for them. I think he transferred there. Maybe he's a
Mhm.
freshman, but he's been really good. He just won SEC MVP announced earlier today. You have Herb Jones, a guy who's expected to get drafted. Herbert Jones, one of their guards who's kind of, I think, somewhat defensive oriented. He's had a breakout season kind of in his fourth year. He even been improving pretty well every year. John Petty has been good for that team. They have players that have stepped up this year and made them a 2 seed, which I don't know if they were expected to be a 5 seed even.
No, I mean, look, they've made the NCAA tournament 21 times. The last appearance was in 2018 where they lost in the second round. They're not a basketball school. This year, though, I think they got a great shot at making it to the end of the East, at least.
And then your 3rd seed, your Big 12 champions, took down Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham, who upset Baylor, but huge, really good tournament for them. Greg Brown has shot up rankings this year for prospects. One of the you probably have him as one of the best wing prospects in this coming draft. Maybe behind Jonathan Kuminga, probably behind Kuminga, maybe behind Scotty Barnes. But I mean, Kai Jones has been incredible defensively and offensively. Texas has looked really good recently. I mean, this East is so stacked.
Right.
With even superstar talent.
Now the East has a lot of competitive teams. I think. I mean, look, I think Texas. They've had some moments this season where they haven't been great, but beating OSU in the Big 12 finals is huge. Like that's a big win right there over a good OSU team, right? So I look at Texas and they definitely have a shot at running the table here because I think that while Alabama and Michigan are good teams, they're great teams. I don't think it's out of the question for a team like Texas to win and move out of the East.
And
Would you?
speaking of, yeah, I mean Texas definitely has a possibility, but I just mentioned him, Scotty Barnes, as we take it to a 4th seed, Florida State. He was rated the best power forward prospect
Right.
coming out of high school, and he's had a really good year at Florida State. Kind of fallen a bit for where he was expected to get drafted. I think he was expected top 10. Now he's floating around late lottery, but I mean he's done really good for Florida State. They're ranked 15th, second in the ACC.
Right.
They
I mean,
did
that's
lose
ACC's
a pretty big upset to Georgia Tech, though.
yeah, that's gotta concern you, right? I mean, that's what concerns me about Florida State is Georgia Tech's a good team, but like you shouldn't be losing that game, especially after beating North Carolina, right? I feel like that is a game that you need to win, right? They lost by 5. I mean, it was probably a close game, but I don't know. That worries me about Florida State, and you know, it worries me. I don't know. I'm not so hot on Florida State. Maybe not as hot as you are. I think they're a good team, but I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a gap between them and Texas.
Our 5th seed is Colorado. I love watching Colorado play. McKinley Wright, the 4th, is so fun to watch. Their point guard. I think they're gonna make a pretty deep run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Lost to
I mean,
Oregon
you lose
State
to a
though.
hot Oregon State team, right?
Yeah.
And that is concerning. But they did beat USC, right? So
Yeah.
that has to count for something, right? They're ranked 23rd in the AP poll, 25th in opponent points per game, which means they're not giving up many points,
But I mean,
right?
off of a loss against a team that has, I mean, when's the last time Georgetown has lost here? I mean,
Where are we talking about, Colorado or Colorado State? Excuse me.
Colorado.
Okay.
They played Georgetown in the 12th seed round 1, who was
I don't know.
beat
I gotta
Villanova,
go
beat Seton Hall, destroyed Creighton. I mean, I
Yeah, let's
can't.
talk about Georgetown.
I
I've
mean,
been waiting to talk about
wow,
Georgetown.
Georgetown has looked
Georgetown is
unbelievable, and they were a
Georgetown.
12 seed.
Right. Out of all the teams coming to the tournament, they've been the best.
This matchup
And I
is
think
crazy. This I want to. This is what I want to watch. This is the matchup
this is the.
I
I think
want to
in the
watch.
first round, this is the best matchup.
I
This is the
mean,
matchup to watch.
Georgetown slow start. They went 7-9. They were the 8th seed. Barely even made like the
Barely
playoffs
even
for the
made
Big
the.
East. And then they murdered 2 5 seeds.
Yeah.
Like
I
what?
mean, this is going to be a great matchup. My gut tells me go with Colorado. Colorado's been a great team,
But the momentum for
the momentum
Georgetown
that
has been.
Georgetown has is just something else right
It's
now.
through the roof. I mean, you cannot feel better if you're Georgetown right now.
Now you have to feel like you're on top of the extremely confident going forward. I got Georgetown, man. In the first round, I got Georgetown. They've been incredible.
Your 6th seed is BYU. A lot of people thinking one of these upset teams will be BYU, a team that makes a long run. I personally don't think that. They lost 7 seniors last year and came back with a strong rebuild. They did lose to Gonzaga. They should have won that game though.
Yeah, but Gonzaga is such a good team, right? You got to
Yeah, I mean, if they
the first round now.
they lost a close round versus Gonzaga.
I mean, look,
strong
they
team.
score a lot of points every game, and they're 26th in the AP poll for a 6th seed, right? I mean, that's not bad. I think that they're a little bit better than that, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I tend to like BYU. Who are they playing? Who's their 11th seed that they're playing?
Yeah, they're going to be either playing Michigan State or UCLA.
Michigan State or UCLA? See,
I think it'd be Michigan State out of that personally.
I do as well. Michigan, I mean, Michigan State's a good team, but they
sadly,
haven't been great recently.
My big orange are not making it, but yeah, Michigan State did lose to Maryland, but they did make the Final Four in 2019. A lot of people had them making the finals. They another upset by Texas Tech, ranked 37th. UCLA, obviously a historically a very good tournament team in recent years. Made Final Four a few years ago. Had Lonzo Ball. I think they made it pretty far that year. But I gotta go Michigan State here to win that matchup.
To win that matchup, I think BYU comes out of that. No.
BYU. I'm talking the Michigan State UCLA.
Yeah, I know. I'm just talking after that.
After that, yeah. BYU is a lot of people's sleeper teams.
I think BYU. A lot of people got turned off by the loss to Gonzaga. I still think they're a strong team. I still think that they can. I think they can make a run as a 6th seed. Especially, I don't think there's any team that is really, really ultra dominant in the East. So I think it's going to be competitive.
On to a 7th seed, UConn, probably the biggest. They had one of the players that had the biggest rise of rankings this year in James Bouknight, who's kind of evolved his game in every way, jumped up to like a top 10 player. Last time UConn had like a top 10 prospect player, you're looking at Cody Kemba, leading them to the national championship.
Right. Right. And
historically good.
Historically a good team. They lost to Creighton by 3, but they've been in the tournament a long time. They've appeared 33 times. They won in 2014. They lost in the second round to first seed Kansas back in 2016. They're ranked 28th in the AP poll. They're 40th in points per game, which at 64.6. They didn't play extremely well though in the Big East, which is a little concerning. They were only 3rd in the Big East. Connor, what are your thoughts on Connecticut and their matchup going into March Madness?
Yeah, Connecticut's playing Maryland, who I do not think have been really great this year. They were obviously a good team last year, owning number 10 overall pick Jalen Smith, but since last year they just haven't been good. They took a pretty big loss to Michigan, but overall they've always been a solid team in the tournament, but I think UConn destroys them. Honestly, in all honesty, I think UConn's way too good for Maryland. Obviously, they have Andrew Wiggins, who was a 5-star prospect at some point, kind of fell off, but kind of regained his old status this year. But I just can't see Maryland win this matchup.
I think, yeah, and I'll second that. I don't think, again, I think, as we talked about, I think the East has some teams that are really just, I mean, UConn being a 7 seed, they could easily be I don't know, maybe not 5 seed, but definitely a 6 seed in other years. I got to think, these top 6 teams really, or is UConn a 7 seed? Excuse me, UConn's a 7 seed. I got to think that these top 7 teams, I mean, they're competitive.
I'm saying top 8 in the East. LSU has.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even realize LSU was 8.
Yeah.
I mean, give me, but LSU and
I beat Arkansas.
LSU and Georgetown, you got to throw Georgetown in the mix there at least,
yeah,
right?
I mean, this is a crazy bracket.
I think LSU, instead of the 4 is probably going to be the one that's the most wild this year, I have to say.
LSU, huge upset on Arkansas. And then they did lose to Bama.
Huge upset. Like, Arkansas is a 3 seed this year, right? So we have to be thinking about that in terms of the LSU being an 8 seed.
Before that, if LSU did not win that, they would have been a 10 seed looking like, probably.
Right.
I mean,
so like for me, right, LSU taking down a 3 seed who we both regard as one of the better teams in the tournament overall, Arkansas. LSU definitely, they're gonna give, if they end up beating St. Bono, which is not a bad team, by the way.
I mean, St. Bono's ranked higher, but yeah. I mean, LSU. I can't get over that Arkansas win. I can't say that.
That's such a huge win, isn't it?
Venture's got to win. I mean, Trendon Watford, the sophomore for them, Cameron Thomas, the freshman for them. Right. They have created one of the best offensive teams in basketball, ranked 8th in points per game.
Yeah, they're scoring a lot of points, and
82 a game
Arkansas.
In the SEC.
It's gonna be tough to get over that win over Arkansas. You can't look past that,
I mean, there's no way. I don't. Yes, St. Bonaventure has been good. They have dominated the Atlantic, really. They have been one of the best defensive teams. But when you're putting against 4th in points allowed against worst competition, and your way of winning is holding teams to 60 points a game, LSU's not scoring only 60 points a game. I can't see a world where LSU loses this game.
Right. I think LSU wins, and I think they'll probably give Michigan some trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an easy, path to the Sweet 16 for Michigan for sure. I think they definitely get some trouble there.
We've already discussed Maryland. Onto your 11th seed, we discussed Michigan State, which we think are going to win. 12th seed, we discussed Georgetown already. All the way down to the seeds that are kind of less expected to win. UNC Greensboro.
UNCG. They've made the tournament a couple times before. They are they're not unknown to the tournament.
I mean, they pretty much dominated the Southern League.
They dominated the Southern.
I mean,
they weren't great in points per game and an opponent per game, though.
Yeah,
historically they've been bad in the NCAA tournament. And who are they taking on?
They're playing Florida State.
I think Florida State wins that easily.
Such a hood. The East is so difficult.
Yeah,
I feel like I literally have to make 2 brackets: one where Colorado wins and one where Georgetown wins.
Right. I don't know, man. For me, if I have to make one bracket, right? If I have to make one bracket, I'm looking at this now, and I think Georgia. I don't know, man. It's either I have a bracket with Georgetown making it to the Sweet 16, or I have it with Florida State making it to the Sweet 16, or maybe Colorado. Like, I feel like that right there is going to screw up so many people's brackets. That match, those games right there. I want to pick Georgetown so bad. I think I will.
Colorado is so good as well. That's man. I don't know. That's such a hard division. 14th seed
Mhm.
Abilene Christian.
Abilene Christian, another school I did not know existed before this. But hey, that's how you learn. They were second in the Southland. They beat Nichols State, which was I think that was an upset, right? They killed
Yeah.
them as well. It wasn't even close. They won by 34 points. Um, they appeared once before in 2019 where they lost to Kentucky in the first round. This
Another.
year they
I
take on.
expect another first round exit against Texas.
Yeah, I think Texas is a good team, and then
They won
obviously
by almost 40. I mean, that's crazy.
that is crazy, but I think Texas is way better. And then Iona makes it, but again, I think Alabama comes out on top there.
Iona's actually one of those scary teams, honestly, in my opinion. I don't think they're gonna upset
I
Alabama,
think
but they're one of those teams that like definitely one of the big upsets, but they have never played well in the tournament. I do think that's an Alabama win. Finally, your 16th seed, Mount St. Mary's versus Texas Southern. Um,
I think
there.
Texas Southern comes out of that now.
Yeah, I would probably say the same.
No,
Um,
I think they lose to Michigan kind of regardless, but um, just my thoughts there. Let's move on. Finally, got the Midwest.
all the way over to the Midwest. Number one
Last
seed.
what 17, 18 teams?
Number one seed, Illinois.
Yeah, we already talked about Illinois. Let's talk about them again.
Huh?
Really, really good. I mean, they're just a really, really good team. Um, Definitely in my Elite Eight. I think they got to be in my Elite Eight, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this. I'm looking at this. This, in my opinion, this has got to be the probably the weakest conference. But Illinois, Oklahoma State, Sweet 16. It is gonna be a bloodbath.
I think it's.
I don't know. Kincaid Cunningham pull out the impossible there. So Illinois, obviously, we've discussed them already earlier. Ayo DeSunmu looking to kind of they all came back. A lot of that team to try to run it up, take their chances at the tournament. 2 seed Houston.
Yeah, they won today over Cincinnati, didn't they?
Yeah, they were projected to win that pretty easily.
They were
though.
projected to win that. Were they projected to be a 2 seed though? I don't recall.
Yeah, I think they were projected to be a 3 seed. Caleb Mills
Right.
has been incredible, and then Kansas transfer Quentin Grimes has just pushed them over the top to being a good seed. But 7th in the AP poll. But I don't.
I mean, I feel like it's so weak though. Just looking at getting to the Sweet 16 for them.
I mean, West Virginia is your 3 seed here.
West Virginia is good. I think that's probably your Sweet 16 matchup if I had to pick one.
West
But
Virginia,
we'll get to that.
Illinois.
Yeah, West Virginia lost by 3, didn't they?
To Oklahoma State.
They put up a last second shot.
Yeah, I thought Oklahoma State would have made it the 3 seed instead of West Virginia. But I guess they took that text. I mean, they beat West Virginia and then they beat Baylor. But I think. All right, first let's talk about West Virginia. 10th ranked. Miles McBride back another year. Oscar Shibui and Derek Culver, a complete trio of great players, kind of helping them. I don't think they should be a 3 seed. Losing to Oklahoma State, I think Oklahoma State would have been a 3 seed. If it wasn't that they should have that the NCAA think they should not even be in the tournament because they did receive a postseason ban. NCAA still let them in. There's only one name you have to say with Oklahoma State, then you know the whole team. That's Cade Cunningham, easily the best prospect in the draft. Number one clear. Whoever gets the first pick is gonna take him. The Cunningham Cowboys looking to make some magic happen. Can they beat Illinois?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish they were the 3 seed. That would have made this that Elite Eight
That
matchup
Houston
a lot more
Ohio
fun.
State, that would have been. I think that.
I mean, this is the best Oklahoma State you've seen since when they won the championship in a 3-round tournament in 1946. So probably ever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Beat West
This is the
Virginia
best.
back to back and beat Baylor, and yet they gave West Virginia the 3 seed. I'm not one to
I
judge
don't think you give West
really.
Virginia the 3 seed here.
Tennessee, the 4 seed or the 5 seed, sorry.
I think Tennessee being a 5 seed is a strong 5.
Yeah. I mean, Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer both coming to that team. They beat Florida pretty easily. They barely lost to Alabama. They have Vez Pons, really great player. 5th-year veteran John Fulkerson, been there a while, and they've always been good with him. They lost to Purdue in the Sweet 16, but like overall, they're 31st ranked. They're a good team. For
They're
5
again, look at their. I mean, with some teams, right? You look at their points allowed and points per game. Tennessee doesn't score. They score 72 and change, and they don't let up very many in the SEC, which is again a tough conference this year. Who do they take on this year, Connor?
They take on Oregon State, the 12th seed.
Jeez, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because Oregon State, man. I mean, besides Georgetown,
Oregon State beat Colorado.
And they beat Oregon to win whatever they won, the Pac-12, I believe, right?
Yeah, hot team. These 5-12 matchups, the Georgetown one, the Oregon State one, these are crazy matchups.
This is, in my opinion, the second best matchup we got. I mean, let's just jump to Oregon State here. 17-12, 10-10, like they're not a very good team.
And then they had a crazy Pac-12 tournament.
And then they had a crazy Pac-12, beating Colorado in the Pac-12. Did they beat Colorado in the Pac-12 championship, or did they beat Oregon in the championship? I don't remember.
I believe they beat Colorado and they beat Oregon the round prior.
Okay, yeah, that must be it. Regardless, I mean, not a team that was even expected to do any of that. The last appearance in the NCAA tournament was in 2016. They lost to VCU. As Tennessee, Oregon State, I mean, it is not a flip of the coin. It is not, solely Tennessee. It's a flip of the coin on this one, I think.
I think I'm
Oregon
still leaning.
State stays hot.
I still lean Tennessee personally. But there's
I
definitely
do too, but
there's definitely a chance that Oregon State.
I would not be surprised if Oregon State comes out of this.
Your 6th seed, San Diego State.
Yeah, I mean,
won the Mountain West.
Convincingly.
We're looking really strong last year.
They're ranked 19th in the AP poll, so for being a 6th seed, that's pretty high. They beat Wyoming and then Nevada and then Utah State by 11. And they were really, really good last year, right? Right, they're projected to be a 1 seed, I believe.
Yeah, I mean they were crazy good last year.
They were a 6th seed this year, right? Connor, or 6th seed?
Yep, they are a 6th seed.
Who do they take on?
They take on Syracuse, who I was thinking was, once I saw that they went in their first 4, I didn't think they were making the tournament.
They make the tournament. They're playing San Diego State. Connor, as a Cuse fan, as a big Orange, tell us your thoughts on Syracuse, and do they got a shot against San Diego State?
Yeah, I will say I don't think they have a shot against the Aztecs here. I mean, San Diego State has just been. I mean, yes, they were not as good this year as they were last year, but they were still crazy good.
Right.
Team. Just running through. I mean, everyone in the Mountain West.
San Diego State play Houston in the Sweet 16?
It's definitely possible.
I'm not convinced on West Virginia. It's just they're not. I think they're the weakest 3 seed in the tournament. Like, I think Texas is a way better team than West Virginia is, right? And personally, it was a close game versus I forget who they played. It was a close game that they lost.
But Syracuse has been since they took their loss against Georgia Tech, and then they beat UNC, Ohio State, to them. They destroyed Clemson, a 7th seed in the same conference here. They demolished NC State, 8-9 in the ACC tournament. They barely lost to Virginia. They've been pretty hot as well, playing San Diego State. But yeah, I gotta
That's a good
lean San
matchup
Diego
there.
State.
I think San Diego State, though, they've been dominant these past 2 years, though, haven't they?
Yeah,
That's kind of
I
what
mean,
I'm gonna
but
lean
we haven't seen them in
towards.
the tournament. We haven't seen how they can
This is
perform in
true.
the
This is
tournament.
true. Right. I mean, and they lost in 2018, and they're not
This
like experienced.
your 7th
And
seed. I was
Syracuse
just
pulls off
talking
all
about
the
them.
runs, right? Syracuse pulls off all the runs. You know what I'm saying?
I was just talking about him. Clemson, who has looked pretty bad recently. They lost to Miami in the first round of the ACC tournament. 5 seed losing to a 13 seed there.
Yeah.
They lost to Syracuse a few weeks ago.
I mean, the ACC is competitive, but it's just it's
Lost to
unexcusable.
Duke, you know. I don't know.
Who do Clemson play? Who's their 10 seed in this conference?
Rutgers.
I don't like Rutgers as well, though. I'm not a big Rutgers fan.
I mean,
this year.
Ron Harper Jr. has been great for Rutgers. I
Right,
have
but they
to.
got destroyed by Illinois.
They did lose to Illinois pretty badly.
And they're not very good on either side of the ball. They're 209th in points scored per game. They're 112th in points allowed. So they're not scoring much and they're giving up a ton. I gotta go with Clemson, man. Rutgers just doesn't. It's just such a weak team. Like really.
I'm going Rutgers. Honestly, I just can't see Clemson like doing anything crazy. Really. It's Rutgers' first tournament since 1991. They're playing a pretty weak team at a 7th seed. This is your time to take over, man.
I agree. This is your time, but Rutgers is 10-10 in the Big Ten. They're not like.
I mean, they just beat Indiana. They just beat Minnesota, who's a good team. They barely lost to Maryland. Sorry. Like they're not a bad team at all.
I look at that Illinois.
I'm leaning Rutgers in that matchup. I think whoever wins that Houston will have a field day with them.
I don't think it's gonna matter, but in terms of perfecting your bracket,
I think a week 8-9, Loyola Chicago, versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has looked pretty good. Beat Florida State.
I think Georgia Tech probably takes. Yeah. I think Georgia Tech probably comes.
Yeah, Georgia Tech had a huge upset to win the ACC championship.
I mean, they beat Florida State. I look at that and I say, like, Florida State's a good team, and while Georgia Tech isn't incredible, I feel like that's got to count for something. I don't think they're going to take down. Right? Is that the next team they would play?
Illinois, yeah.
I don't think they're going to take down Illinois, but I think Georgia Tech. I mean, you got to look at that Florida State win. That's a big win, and Florida State's a good team. They're 4 seed, right? So they just beat them too. So. I don't know. I'm not a big Loyola fan. I mean, Loyola Chicago. Let's not, harp on them too much. I mean, they're ranked 18th in the AP, but like, they don't allow any points. But they're playing in the Missouri Valley division. Competitive,
Next, we're going to Oklahoma State's opponents, since we already talked about the other opponents in Liberty. They made a crazy upset, I remember. I think they were a 12 seed making an upset last tournament. Demolished the Atlantic Sun, but you're not beating Cade Cunningham. I don't think there's much more to say than that.
No. They're playing Oklahoma State, correct?
Yeah, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State's got that one wrapped up.
Next year on your 14th seed playing West Virginia, you have Morehead State.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in love with West Virginia, but Morehead State just. I mean, the Ohio Valley Division can't be that competitive, can it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think West Virginia comes out of that one pretty convincingly.
Yeah. Your 15th seed playing Houston is Cleveland State.
Yeah, I mean,
destroyed the Horizon League. But I mean, how good's the Horizon League really?
I mean, it might be
getting
the
a
worst
tough
league in this
matchup.
tournament.
And then finally, you have
Our 16 seed.
Drexel, who I will say the Colonial is probably worse.
I think the Colonial is probably worse than the Horizon.
Drexel was a 6th seed and then beat
There was the
Elon
6th
to
seed,
win it
so
all.
they beat Elon by. Yeah, let's just not even talk about it. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? So Connor, it's early. I still have to take all of this in terms of who is. I can't. I think I've thought about it a lot right now, but your final 4 predictions right now.
All right, I will start with Gonzaga.
Yep, I agree.
Then I will head south. I'll pick Arkansas out of the South.
I have Ohio State, but okay, I see Arkansas.
In the East, the East and the Midwest are so difficult.
I'm going Bama for.
I'm going. Give me Texas out of the East.
That was. And then I was Bama and Texas. I saw. Again, this could change tomorrow. Look at.
And then the Midwest. It's whoever wins Illinois Oklahoma State matchup. I love Cade Cunningham, but I have to lean Illinois.
I got Gonzaga taking the whole.
As much I'd love to see Oklahoma State just do a big FU to the NCAA by winning in the year they were banned.
But I don't think they will, man. It's just it's so difficult to take down Illinois. It's so dominant.
But yeah, I've got to go Illinois. How good they've looked. Final 4. Should I go on from that? I'll just say. So it'd be. I would have Gonzaga versus Texas. I think Gonzaga wins that.
I think Gonzaga beats Alabama.
I would have Arkansas, Illinois. I think Illinois wins that.
I think Illinois wins.
And then
beats Ohio State.
And then I would. Yeah, I'd be happy with either Illinois or Gonzaga winning. I like both the teams.
I think it'd be cool if Illinois won, but I just don't think.
I want Gonzaga to finally win one. I want Jalen Suggs to be a top 5 pick.
Look,
I will go Gonzaga.
This is the best chance they have. Best chance they have, without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. All right, well, folks, you have all the information you need. So, hopefully something will come out of this where someone gets a bracket and you shout it and you say, hey, the master plan told me what to do. And that would be awesome. 21 pages of notes. Sorry, 17. Hard work for Connor and I. We hope we've given you enough to think about. I think, I don't know. I think Connor and I agreed on most of the picks for who's going to win. We disagreed on a couple in terms of like the first round matchups, but we'll definitely be wrong. I mean,
I think the West and South, I personally think are not terrible like matchup, especially first round.
I think
but
the
then
West
you
and
get
South
to
are
the
pretty simple.
East and Midwest, you have Oregon State on fire, Georgetown on fire, and they're both playing really good teams.
And Oregon State are 2 teams like that you just don't want to pick against because how hot they've been. And I gotta go with Georgetown, Colorado. It's just Georgetown beating Creighton by that many. It's just insane, right?
I don't know what to do. That
Make 2
matchup
brackets and pick both.
That matchup is gonna haunt me. Colorado Georgetown is gonna haunt me. Whoever wins that is gonna absolutely haunt me.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching. Usually I just said listening. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. This episode is the what am I even saying right now? It's been a long day. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to Connor for setting up all the graphics on the stream and for definitely doing a lot of hard work regarding players and stuff like that. It was not easy compiling this whole big swath of paper that ended up being out of order anyway today because they just don't like to be, follow what the predictions are. Thank you to Connor so much for doing this. we'll be, I don't know what we'll do for March Madness. Maybe we'll do like a live stream during like one of the games. I don't know. They're always at weird times. Like maybe Connor, maybe we do like a live stream during
Colorado
like,
Georgetown.
the Colorado Georgetown game. Like I don't know what it is, but if we find it,
I'm gonna see if they have times up yet.
It's got to be next Tuesday, right? Because don't they like do them all on a Tuesday or a Thursday?
Yeah, but most of them are during the day.
Right.
Johnson, I think this is an easy.
From.
Whatever. We will figure that out.
We will figure that out. Anyways, we hope we've given you a lot to think about, and we hope you've given some advice, some clarity in a time where clarity is needed. So thank you everyone for watching, and have a great night. See you in the next one.
Yeah, thank you all. We are out.
Good job, Con. That was a lot.